Hello, I'm Master Marslander, and welcome to the 2025 studio tour. I've been meaning to do this for a while now, and I appreciate all of your patience, but this was a journey. I had a lot I wanted to do with the space, and it's finally to a place right now where I feel like it's good enough to show it off. So without further ado, let's get right into it. And here it is. This is the studio space. It's a lot to look at. There's a lot going on, but I'm going to break it down for you. But yeah, it's finally looking pretty dang good. I'm feeling pretty good about it. So to do this, we're going to kind of just go through. I'm not going to talk about every little tiny thing that's in here, but we are going to break it down into quadrants because that's how I've kind of designed the space. We have the first quadrant is the headphone rack, the headphone wall over here, which is pretty self-explanatory, but we'll talk about what's going on over there. Then we have the workstation and test bench space. We'll talk about what's going on all over here as well. And then finally, the third quadrant is this right here, which is the new review space. This is all new stuff, and I'm really excited to talk about this. The desk in particular, we're going to have a little bit of a focus on because the desk was a major contributor to allowing for this the space to be the way that it is now. So I am definitely going to give some time to the desk later in the video, but for now, let's start with the headphone wall. Now, the headphone wall is a wall of headphones. That's a big surprise, but what we have here, what the idea behind the headphone wall here is obviously one that's going to be kind of the primary backdrop for the videos, but also it's going to be cycling regularly. The headphones that are on here now are not necessarily headphones that are going to always be here. The idea is that over time, as new headphones come out that are of a particular interest to me or I just really like, they're going to go up here on the wall and be part of the backdrop. But what we have up here right now are just a collection of things that I currently personally still feel really strongly about, that I still really enjoy, and that also just look really good. So we'll start over here. We have, of course, the Aris, the Harmonic Dyne plus Z-Reviews Aris. Absolutely crazy fun headphone. We have the Opos edition of the Audio-Technica R70X Refine. I did the unboxing for that, but never got around to reviewing it. That's on my bucket list to do sometime soon, so keep an eye out for the review of that thing. Very fun, very cool headphone. Down here we have the original Sendy Iva. They have a Sendy Iva 2 that just came out. I have not heard that yet, but I still really love my Iva. And the stand that it came with, the Sendy stand, it's so freaking beautiful, real wood. Beautiful headphone. And I still really like it. Also, really quick, up here, those of you who have been around long enough should recognize this. If not, don't worry about it. But this was the original logo for the channel. My friend went ahead and made this for me. It is a model of Mars that is actually light sensitive. When light touches it, when light reflects onto it, it will start to rotate, which is super cool. Then he printed this out and taped it on there for me to make it look like the logo. So that was really cool. Thank you very much, Ryan. I still love this thing. Then we have the DMS Omega. What a crazy headphone. And again, another one that I've done the unboxing for, but have not done a full review of yet. This one in particular, I am taking my time with because this is a very unique headphone, a very interesting headphone that requires a bit more scrutiny than some of the other headphones I've talked about here on the channel. Lots of crazy things going on with this headphone, and I really want to make sure I have a really strong understanding of it before we start to talk about it, and that's why the review has taken as long as it has, but that too is coming out soon. We keep going down, and we have the Sennheisers, all of the Sennheisers, oh boy. Starting with the 5.8X Jubilees, that was a drop collaboration. Then we have, of course, the legendary HD6XX, absolutely phenomenal headphone and crazy good value. HD600s, there's just nothing really beats it. Nothing beats the 600s. 600s are just amazing. And actually, this is one of my regular referencing headphones. When I'm testing other headphones, a lot of headphones get tested against the HD600 for very good reason. The next to that we have, of course, the HD660S2. Phenomenal headphone as well. Very different kind of sound profile and approach to sound than the 600s, but very good nonetheless. We go down to some drawers, and in the drawers are where I house some of the planars. Over here we have the original Mod House Argon. This was a T50 mod that was available on drop at first, just a standard T50 Mark II. And I didn't care for it. The mod that was made from drop, I didn't like it. So I sent it to Ryan at Mod House when I first heard about him, and he modified it to an original T50 Mark II Argon. So there's my original Argon, followed by my T50 Mark III Argon, another phenomenal, absolutely insane headphone. Mod House Audio just kills it. Moondrop Para. I've had this for a while. Again, I've never reviewed it. I just haven't had the time. But I really, really like this thing, and I need to do a review of it. Even if I am a little late to the party here, you can expect a review of the Para. And then on my beloved, my very first ever planar, the HE4XX. What a great little planar. It's still fun to listen to. I still really, really enjoy it. So yeah, there's no necessarily a reason why they're locked behind doors here. It's just to save some space. Up here, front and center on the headphone wall, and this probably will never leave the headphone wall, is my treasured, beloved Klipsch HP3. This is one of the most beautiful headphones, and it's one of the most beautiful sounding headphones, and is to date, for me, the most premium unboxing experience from a headphone that I've ever had. I love this thing, I adore this thing, and I am devastated that they don't make it anymore. It's such a great headphone. It's so beautiful. It'll be up here forever. I will always love my HP3. Going down is not headphones, but this little light meter right here that does in fact respond to my voice or the sound in the room in general. You've all seen this in the background. And you know what? I'm going to put a link to this if I can in the description, so that if you want to get one for yourself, now you'll be able to find it. I really like this thing. It's super cool. It's just for fun though, no real practicality to it. Then back here, still in its very, very nice case, is the Ultrasone Signature Pulse. I bought this out of a curiosity because Drop was doing a collaboration with Ultrasone. I've heard things about Ultrasone. I wanted to get a taste of it myself. So I picked this up secondhand, and yeah, it's an interesting headphone. We'll say that. So if you want to, you can go check out the video for that, because that was a really bizarre headphone. And then of course, the lady, 2B, Nier Automata is one of my favorite games ever. It's such a phenomenal video game, and she's such a cool design. Waifu or not, she's just a super cool character, super amazing, and yes, I have the figure. And you'll see some other Nier stuff around the house. That's just me. Coming down here, we have the Grado Hemps. I still really like the Hemps. The Hemps still sound amazing. I just wish they were built a little bit better. And then in these in these Stax ear speaker bags are my modifications for the Hi-Fi-Man HE6SE and the HE560. Great headphones. The mods were super fun to put together. Yeah, they're just super cool. They're really nice, good sounding, great sounding, in fact, headphones that just, because of the mod, are a lot more bare to the air and to the elements. So that's why they're protected in bags. Down here is a bit of a mess, but we do have a little wood case right here that has a lot of my IAMs inside of it. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And it's just here for easy access, and as well as some cost stuff. Going back up to the top right corner, this is the Ether CX, another collaboration with Drop and Dan Clark Audio. And then another collaboration with Drop and Dan Clark Audio, the Aeon, I think it's the Aeon Closed X, maybe it's an X, I don't remember exactly, but yeah, the Aeon Closed. Both of these are great, really, really great Dan Clark, huge planar headphones. The Ethers being just super crazy clinical, and then the Aeons being really, really fun and compact and cool, and great sounding planars. Down to our next level, we have the Civica Robins, which are beautiful, and these pads are second to none. These are the softest, most comfortable headphone pads on earth. Amazing. Maybe only in competition with the Aris in terms of the pads, because the Aris pads are also insanely comfortable. And then over here is yet another Mod House Argon. This is the T60 Argon. What a phenomenal headphone. And man, I can never get enough of this headphone. Of all the Argons, this one is probably my favorite. And it's such a unique sound that you're just not going to get from anywhere else. Down here we have the ZMF Bokeh. Beautiful, beautiful Bokeh. It was the first run Bokeh, so that's why it has that nice ruby red stain on the wood there. What an amazing headphone. Beautiful sounding headphone. And then of course the legendary Philips Ship 9600. This headphone is deserving to be up here because it was such an insane value at the time. It's still a really good value even if it does have more competition now. Huge ear pad, huge drivers, super light, one of the most comfortable headphones, and just an absolute blast to listen to. And then this drawer down here is a little bit of overflow. I'm not going to talk about what's in here. I'll just kind of show it off really quick, and you could you can pick out what you might recognize. But yeah, that's just a little bit of overflow. You have to understand that while I do have a headphone wall, not all the headphones are going to fit on the wall. This is by no means all the headphones that I own. And I'm not going to ever show you all the headphones that I own because, well, that's just a little embarrassing and a bit too much. They are stored away elsewhere. Just know about that. That's why you're not seeing stuff like the Modhouse Tungsten up here. Tungstens are stored away in a very special place, along with stuff like my LCD2Cs and Sennheiser HD800s. Now we can move over to the workstation. I'll pull out my chair here. The chair, by the way, is a wonderful chair. This is the Steelcase Gesture, and it's one of the most ergonomic and most comfortable chairs that I've ever sat in. I love it. I don't recommend the headrest, though. If you're gonna get a Gesture, I don't recommend that thing. It's really nice. It has lots of articulation and adjustments, but it just gets in my way. I wanna like lean back in my chair, and that gets in my way every time. So if I were to do this all over again, I would not go with the headrest attachment. I would just do the chair, because yeah, it's a great chair. Just doesn't need that headrest. So now let's have a seat and talk about the workbench, the test bench. This is where I spend most of my time, most of my day, just enjoying my life. Oh my goodness, lots of stuff on here. We're gonna go over what's on here really quick, starting with this ultra wide LG display. It's just kind of a generic LG display. I don't have anything super gamery in terms of monitors, but it's a really nice, decent IPS display with I think 144 hertz speeds on it, so it's fast enough for what I need. I don't need like a 240 hertz monitor. This is plenty fast enough for me, and it's nice, big, ultra wide, and then yeah, it looks nice. My speakers are just generic Fluence speakers. They are not speakers that I do any sort of monitoring or referencing with. They're just fun and easy to use. That's why they're up here. They're just here for me to enjoy some speakers without really, again, any sort of analysis with them. They're not good enough for that, but they are fun. And again, really easy. But what is good for analysis is this guy right here. This is the Ferrum Stack, and oh my gosh, do I love my Ferrum Stack. This is still one of the most incredible audio stacks on the market today. I adore it. I love it. I really almost can't live without it at this point. This has been such a workhorse in my station here, my workstation, on my test bench. I put everything through the Ferrum Stack here because there's just nothing else like it. Nothing else has the control of what you get from the Ferrum Stack. It's so incredible. It sounds so amazing. And yeah, I just, I have to have it here. It's so great. It's so good. Then we have the Topping A90 D90 stack here. I'll turn this guy on so you can get a good look at that. Now, Topping is known for being a little bit sterile, a little bit boring. And yeah, I can agree to that. The sound quality that you get out of a Topping unit is generally pretty sterile, pretty flat, pretty dull, but always accurate. The accuracy and cleanliness of this stack, there's just no denying. It is so insanely clean and just completely flavorless. If you want just a super crazy, transparent, honest and truthful sound from your headphones, it's going to be really hard to beat something like this. That's why it's still here, why I still use it, because there's nothing else in my stack, in my test bench, that offers a kind of cleanliness and analyticalness, is that a word, that the Topping stack here does. So that's why it's still here. The A90D and the D90 SE, I believe. Yes, SE. Incredible stack. Not for everyone, especially if you don't want something really clinical. But yes, it definitely has its purpose. And then below the Topping stack, is this little guy. This is the Shit Magni Modi 2. This was my very first ever headphone stack. And I still have it here. One, obviously for some nostalgic reasons, some sentimental reasons, but it's also still just a really, really good DAC, a really, really good stack, and a really good example of what a $250 to $300 stack should sound like, should try to achieve. That's why it's still here, so that I can test headphones on a stack of that value and that kind of caliber and quality for that value, and be able to attest whether or not competitive stacks at least meet my expectations that I do with the Magni Modi and the Magni and Modi 2. Phenomenal beginner stack. I still love it. Very, very good. Moving up to the top here again, we have the legendary Drop Plus THX AAA 789. This was a game changer of an amp when it came out. There was really no other headphone amp of this caliber at this price range when this released. It completely changed the market, and for that it has to be recognized. I will say that I owned one of the original launches of the AAA 789, and my original 789 bricked immediately after the warranty expired. So that wasn't great. There were clearly some quality issues, some quality control issues with the first iterations of the 789, but Drop kind of revisited it and updated some of the hardware in it to make things a lot more compliant, a lot more reliable. And as a result, this has been, again, a hell of a workhorse. It's still running great. I've had it for several years. So the reliability has significantly improved. I don't know if they even sell these anymore, but it's still a really, really good amp and a really good value, even today. So that's why it's also still here. Over here, this is a new acquisition. This is the Opos Gremlin. It's a teeny tiny adorable little tube amp, and it's a balanced tube amp. Full balanced tube amp. Insane. And it's so teeny and so cute. I adore it. I love it. I have not reviewed this yet, but I certainly plan to, because this thing is pretty freaking amazing for what it is. Holy cow, what a cute, adorable, and fun little amp. I love it. I love it. Look at it. Oh, it's so cute. It's so cool. Next to the Gremlin is the first ever picture of my son during his gummy bear form. So that's going to stay up here forever. And then I also have my Steam Deck, which I have programmed for various, either through streaming or when I'm doing the reviews. I use this to kind of control certain scenes and cameras and lights and whatever. So that's up here for all that kind of control. Going back a little bit further, we have my mic right here. This is just a simple Maono mic that I've been using the last couple of days for being able to communicate either for work or when I'm doing gaming with my friends. This is not going to be here forever. I actually have, I'm planning on getting a new mic to replace my review mic. And then the review mic, which is the Shure SM58, I believe, or no, maybe it's the SM57. That's going to end up going here. And then the new mic will be over on the review section, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Down here is my keyboard. I never intended to become a keyboard guy, but I think I'm gradually becoming a keyboard guy because I'm really digging custom keyboards lately. And now that I have had these keyboards, these custom keyboards, I really can't go back to standard keyboards. What this is a Keychron Q1. I think it's the version 2. It was a limited edition colorway, and it has just some standard Gateron switches. It's very clacky, and I like it. I still really like it. That's why it's still here. But I'm starting to kind of lean more towards thwacky or thwacky. I'm starting to lean towards more thwacky keys than clacky keys, but you'll see that when we look at the other Keychron. Down here, this little guy right here is just a source switch, the one little bear from Duic Audio. What this does is it lets me switch between 3 different full balance sources. So I got connected to it right now, the 789 and the Gremlin. And I would have another balanced amp around here somewhere to also connect to it, but I just haven't gotten around to doing that. But that's what this does. This is kind of switches sources so that I'm not constantly having to unplug and replug in my amps into my DAC, which is just a simple SMSL SU8 DAC, balanced DAC. It's a fully balanced DAC. It's pretty old by today's standards, but it still works just fine. And for what I needed to do here on this bench, to just to control these guys right here, it does fine, because I don't need these to be, you know, operating off crazy, insane DACs. They're fine as they are. That's being served by its own DAC. And of course, the Wandala is doing a powerhouse over here with the Ferrum stack. And then the little Modir down there also, still a really good DAC. Over here's the PC. Oh my God, look at this tower. It's much bigger than it needs to be, but this is what we're working with. This is what I built myself, and it's just running like a 2070 RTX 2070, some sort of Ryzen processor. I don't remember which one. And it's doing fine. It's getting kind of sluggish though. I'm probably gonna have to upgrade sometime soon. I probably will also not make it so huge, because this case was originally designed to have 2 motherboards built into it. The one, like a typical ATX motherboard up here, but then also it supports a micro ATX down here. The idea behind this case was that your main PC build would be up here, and then down here would be a smaller PC build specifically for streaming. Like that would be your little like streaming PC down there, and that would be your actual gaming PC up there. Obviously, I never got around to doing that, but there it is. Then over here we have the audio stack. This is kind of like the real test bench happens here. It's a little bare bones now. I've kind of been taking some gear out of it and getting ready to put in new gear. But here is what is going to stay on the rack. We have our tube amps. Over here is the TA26S from Duic Audio. Very, very good, kind of standard, basic, almost entry level, but also very powerful and dynamic tube amplifier. This thing's great. Really, really dig it. And on this side was a new acquisition. This is the Quicksilver Audio headphone amp. It's just the headphone amp. I got this while I was visiting Portland, and I did actually do a vlog of that trip to Portland because I visited a couple audio stores. I just haven't gotten around to actually editing that video. Maybe I will do that sometime soon because that was a good trip. And yeah, definitely got some good stuff from it. Then this guy right here, turn them on. This guy is just a really, really pretty VU meter, and it's specific to these amplifiers. It will bounce around for these tube amps. You just kind of switch which one you want it to be listening to, and it'll do some fun UV shenanigans with that. It's a two-way, 2 amp, 2 speaker split. And basically how I got this to work was I treat the amplifiers like they are speakers, and then I treat my DAC like the amplifier when I'm connecting everything to this. And that's how I got all this to work. So very cool. Down here, we have another balance amplifier, which isn't connected right now, but it's still here. This was the SMSL little mini drop amplifier that's kind of like a miniature AAA 789. Good little amplifier, very, very good for its size, for its price, everything. It did a really good job. I really enjoyed it. That's why it's still here. And then we have another switcher here. This is the, again, One Little Bear from Duic. I don't know why they keep the name there, but this is a 5-channel balance XLR split. And again, this is so I can have multiple amps connected to one DAC, which is the point of this rack. Everything on this rack is powered by, right here, the Cyan 2. That's my DAC that's powering this entire stack. What an amazing DAC. Oh my gosh. Haven't had a chance to really talk about it in any of the videos yet, but I do plan to, because man, oh man, what a beautiful freaking DAC. It's so nice. And then the big deal here, the big showcase of the rack is, of course, the Flux Labs. We have the FA10, 16 watts of power, incredible. And then, of course, the Flux Labs Mentor, the best sounding amp I have heard for Modhouse Tungsten specifically, especially if you have 2 of them, even though that's crazy overkill. But yeah, I love my Flux Labs amps. They're going to be in here forever. I love them. So this rack is basically more for, you know, going really hard deep into listening to for other headphones beyond what's just over here on the desk. This is all part of my test bench, what's here on the desk, as well as the rack. It's all considered my test bench, and this is just how we've broken it down. Do please try to ignore the cable management here. I do plan on fixing the cable management, but for now, this is what I have to deal with. So endure with me if you would. Okay, and then finally, the last portion, last quadrant of the studio is right here. This is the new space, the new acquisition. The review space. This is where I do all the reviews. Moving forward, this is where it's all going to happen. And it's going to happen on this standing desk. We'll talk a bit more about the standing desk in just a moment. Let me break down what this all is. This is, again, I got my camera set up here, my microphone, a space, and then this is actually a drawing tablet. This is my Wacom Cintiq Pro 28, 27? I don't remember. Maybe it's a 32. I don't remember. But it's a Wacom Cintiq tablet display because I like to draw. I don't know if you knew that about me, but yes, I'm an illustrator at heart. So that's why that's here. And it also doubles up as a secondary display. Down here we have another Keychron keyboard. This is the new one, the Keychron HE, I think it's called. I got off of that one Kickstarter, and the sound of this thing, oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. I think I am gradually becoming a Thok key enthusiast because, man, I love the way that this thing sounds. But yeah, drawing tablet and secondary display. The microphone here is just a simple Shure SM57. Very standard microphone, under $100. And it's such a workhorse. It's such a powerhouse. It does such a great job for what it is. I just, got this little pop filter on there, and it does a great job. That being said, I am planning to upgrade the microphone. This microphone's going to end up going over there for gaming and work, while this will I'll have a new microphone to replace this for the review videos. As for the videos themselves, my top view camera up here is just a simple Sony Alpha 6400 using its stock lens. And that's my top view camera, 4K 60 FPS. Nothing major, nothing super fancy, but certainly gets the job done. And I'm pretty happy with the top view quality. It is a little problematic to have it on this stand because the stand wiggles and wobbles really bad, especially on this desk. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but it works for now and I'm okay with it. And then over here, the big kahuna. This is my cinema camera, my Sony FX30. Man, oh man, the picture quality of this thing is just unreal. And I have attached to it right now, it's a Sigma lens, f1.4, I think it is. And that's why I have that really nice, fresh looking bokeh effect with this thing. But this camera is incredible. What an incredible camera. It's nice and light, and they're both cameras are mirrorless so that they can run continuously without having to overheat. And this one in particular even has a built-in cooling fan to ensure it never overheats, it's never going to shut off. So this camera is a major, huge upgrade, and I'm so happy I did it because, man, has it proved itself. Oh, I love this camera. So now let's talk about this standing desk. This is the FlexiSpot E6. Now, full disclosure, I have been in the market for a standing desk for several months now. So when FlexiSpot reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to try our standing desk? It seemed almost serendipitous, and I was immediately pretty interested. But before we talk about this desk, let's talk about FlexiSpot here for a second, because I want to give FlexiSpot some major kudos up front. When they reached out to me, I have certain standards that I uphold to when I make content like this. Certain things that I am very particular about that I want to make sure are made transparent between me and you as the viewer. I'm very particular. I have certain standards, and FlexiSpot, majorly to their credit, was extremely flexible in making sure that they met my expectations and were okay with my standards of production and making videos. They communicated with me really, really easily, really quickly, were very, very understanding of what I wanted, and were absolutely accommodating. So major kudos to FlexiSpot up front for being so accommodating to me, my needs and expectations with making this kind of content. So the desk, it's a very pretty desk, a beautiful desk, and perfect for my needs. It's not the most perfect desk. It does have some problems, but for me, it's been an absolute game changer. Again, I've been looking for a standing desk for a while, and this thing has proven to me how valuable a standing desk could be, because being able to stand to do these reviews has been just awesome, super awesome. I love it. So let's go over some of the features, because as I've been in the market for a standing desk, there's a couple of things that I have been prioritizing what I value from a standing desk. So let's talk about some of those things. First and foremost, when we're talking about a sit to standing desk that is motorized, you want to make sure it has good quality motors. And in terms of the E6 here, instead of using one single motor, it uses dual motors that are synced with a sync box. So there's a motor per leg that operate in synchronization to go up and down. They are very powerful motors because they can support, this desk can support weights of over 300 pounds. So that's pretty great. Not that I'm ever going to have 300 pounds worth of gear on here, but still very good to know. And they're very smooth and very quiet. Right here is our little programmer where I can program the different heights and adjustments. I can either do it manually here. You have to tap it to turn it on, and then you can manually adjust it that way. But you also have up to these 4 buttons to do build memory for what you want the adjustments to be. So I have my standing adjustment, which is for me 40. And if I want to, I can hit the sit position right here. And that will lower the desk automatically to my sitting position, as you can see. So that's really great. And as you can hear, not very loud and works very, very smoothly. I'll show you again. Standing. And there it is. So yeah, the motors here are actually really good. They're good motors. They're quiet, they're strong, and they're smooth. And fairly quick. That didn't take very long at all. It wasn't, lightning speed or anything, but that worked pretty quickly. So I really dig the motors, and the interface system with the buttons is extremely easy to use. If you want to use it to memorize buttons, you use the manual buttons here to adjust it to a certain level that you want. Let's say that your standing position is at 42. You would hit the M for memorize button, and then which button you want it to be memorized to. So pretty simple stuff, works very, very well. Something else I've learned to pay attention to with these standing desks happens to do with the legs. Believe it or not, a lot of the times these standing desks, these legs end up having lubricant that is used to help it smoothly move up and down. And sometimes, some standing desks, that lubricant is visible while the legs are extended. So the lubricant is just out here in the open air. I hate that. I really, really don't like that. And it's why I didn't go with a desk like the Steel Series Magnus. And that's because the legs and the Magnus have that oil. And I'm happy to say that the E6 here does not. It adjusts smoothly and evenly without any residue on the leg. That's a big deal for me. I have pets, I have dogs. So for that oil, for that residue, for that lubricant to be out in the open, out into the exposed to the air, to me means that my dog hair is going to get just stuck all over the place on the legs. It's going to look disgusting. So because the E6 here does not have that lubricant exposed to the air like so many other standing desks do, that's a big selling point for me. I really, really like that. So I never have to worry about gross, disgusting lubricant being on the outside of my legs, exposed to the air, and getting all sorts of dust, grime, and pet hair stuck to the legs. So that's a big selling point for me. And man, am I glad that I don't have to worry about that. And then finally, the third big aspect of a standing desk that I think is important is stability. Now, this is somewhere where the FlexiSpot is struggling a little bit. It's not terrible. The stability of this thing is good enough for my needs, but for other people, it might not be. If I push on this, I'll try and make this as stationary as I can so you can see. I mean, it's not too bad. You probably don't even notice it, but if I look up here, if I bring the camera up a little bit, watch the display and the microphone. So it does have a bit of wobble to it. I do have to apply a fair bit of force for it to become problematic. So it's definitely sturdy enough and stable enough for what I do, but it definitely could be better. Having the 4-leg kind of tables, I think obviously is going to give you a much stable surface, but for a T-shaped leg design like this, I think the E6 actually does a pretty great job. for the most part, but it is a little bit on the wobblier side. It is better when you have stuff on it, interestingly enough. But when I first had this all set up and installed, it definitely had some wobble to it. So the stability, I would give the stability maybe a B+, so good, very good, but definitely could be better. And then in terms of the assembly process, I didn't record any of that because it wasn't very interesting, but this does come in two parts. The legs and the desktop ship separately. So they're two separate parts shipped in separate boxes. And then putting it together was actually pretty simple. It took me maybe an hour to put everything together. The desktop had pre-drilled holes in it. The instructions were pretty clear, pretty simple. So it really wasn't too difficult to put together. There's a little bit of cable management you have to fuss around with, but it really wasn't too bad. And if you have the patience for it, you're going to do better than I did, obviously. I still have some crazy, disgusting cable situation going on back there. But yeah, the building was fine. I had no issues with putting it together. And the instructions were clean and clear. And also lots of recyclable packaging. So that's a big plus for me too. I appreciate that. Lots of recyclable packaging. So yeah, the E6 here is a fantastic standing desk. It genuinely is a great standing desk. And I very much thank FlexiSpot for giving me the opportunity to show this thing off, because it really has changed the entire space. I mean, look at this. I would not have the space the way that it is now without this desk. I've been waiting for something like this forever, for a reason to be able to have a space to stand and review product. So now that I have this desk, I can finally do that properly, and I'm very excited about it. So thank you very much, FlexiSpot, for sending the E6 to me for this video. Super appreciate you, and also really appreciate your customer service, because man, I can't stress enough how impressed I was with how they responded to my critiques and criticisms. The last thing I'm going to point out are the acoustic panels. This might be kind of a silly thing to point out, but these are Acoustromatic panels that I bought secondhand from a retired recordist. This dude was like the quintessential beatnik. What a freaking cool ass dude. And he gave me a crazy good deal on these acoustic panels. They do a phenomenal job. I still have my markings up there I gotta get rid of. But the biggest problem with this space was the reverb. If you watch some of the older videos, you're probably gonna notice lots of reverb. And let me tell you, these have helped so much in reducing that reverb. You're gonna see in the next review video just how much better the audio should sound. I'm gonna say should sound. Hopefully it'll sound better. But yeah, that's the studio as it is right now. I'm pretty freaking happy with it. It's always evolving, always changing. But this is where we're at right now. And I guess that's about it. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you again soon.